Yeah.
Hello, my name is Marcia Whiting from the Munnings Art Museum in Dedham, Essex. I'm the curator of this year's special exhibition, Munnings Colour and Light. This year, we're asking visitors to take a closer look at Munnings' preoccupation with painting colour and light. Over 40 paintings on display reveal his journey of discovery to fulfil this passion. As well as holding the largest collection of works by Sir Alfred Munnings at the museum, which was previously his home for many years, we're also very fortunate that he wrote a 3-volume autobiography, collected news cuttings. We also have photograph albums, letters and other ephemera. And with this wealth of information in the archive, I was able to put a lot of the narrative in Munnings' own words, creating almost a two-way dialogue between artist and viewer. Just to give a bit of background to Alfred Munnings, he was born in 1878 on the Norfolk-Suffolk border at Mendon. As a child, he was a gifted artist, and at the age of 14, he was apprenticed to Page Brothers advertising lithographers in Norwich, Norfolk. Concurrently, in the evenings, he enrolled at the Norwich School of Art. So during the day, he was in a business environment. He had deadlines to meet, he had priorities to make, and in the evening, he was working in the fine art way of learning. So he was working from plaster casts, from still lifes, and from models. These two elements gave him a thorough grounding in the production of art. At the age of 20, 2 of his works were accepted by the Royal Academy for show in their 1899 exhibition. Both were hung on the line and both sold. And from this time, he set out to be an artist in his own right. I'd like to show you a few of my favourite highlights, starting with a work that he did at the young age of 15. Study of a plaster cast Camellia, circa 1893. This is a sepia wash on paper with pencil, painted when Munnings was 15 years of age at the Norwich School of Art. Painting tonally from plaster casts was common practice at the time. Several years later, in 1907, he painted the portrait of Nellie Gray. She was from the Gypsy fraternity, and Munnings had first met her at bungee races some years before, which he described as a plunge into the most vividly coloured phase of life I had so far seen. This is not just a portrait. It's unlikely that you would choose your sitter's outfit to be exactly the same colour as the sofa she sits upon. This is a statement of Munnings' masterful skills in painting tone. There are no white highlights. The figure of Nellie Gray emerges from the sofa by means of varying depths of tonal values from the dominant colour red. Her earrings, described by Munnings as gold, are on close investigation also painted in pink. The colours of bungee races, which had been inspirational to Munnings as a young artist, were combined with the tonal painting skills learned at the Norwich School of Art. Together he melded and developed his ideas to great effect in Portrait of Nellie Gray. Charlotte's Pony, 1905. This is an oil painting. Munnings painted much of this work in short, direct dashes of colour. It's probably his most pointillist in style and execution. He used complementary colours of warm orange tones for the pony against the cooler green shades of the hedge behind. Orange and green sit as near opposites on the artist's colour wheel, and juxtaposed, the colours create a dazzling effect. Path to the Orchard, 1908. This is one of the last works painted by Munnings at his home at Mendon, and a fine example of capturing light on fabric. Munnings wrote, "Having seen the work of the Spaniard Sorolla, I was trying to paint more swiftly." There had been an exhibition of Sorolla's work at the Grafton Galleries in 1908, and Munnings may have seen his work then. Here, looking into the sun as he painted it, Munnings has captured the bright fabrics of the girl's hat and apron, as well as shafts of sunlight dancing off the pony's back. Ponies in a Sandpit, Ringland Hills, Norfolk, circa 1909. In 1907, Munnings moved from Mendon to nearby Swainsthorpe. From here, he would strike out on painting sojourns to the outskirts of Norwich and the Ringland Hills, painting plein air, honing his observational skills and experimenting with colour effects. He wrote of thought-out struggles, resulting in the gain of design, tone, colour, light, values, drawing and perspective. He believed that the coat of a live horse reflected the surroundings that it stood in, and so here you can see one of Munnings' favourite pony models, called Augereau, depicted with a halo of the brightest light picked out on his mane, tail and back. Reflected hues of pink on the shoulder and along the neck appear as a diffused echo of the colour of the sand nearby, while the grassy area where he stands is reflected in his coat with green tones as shadow under the neck and belly. Colour for Munnings was not all about bright hues and tones. He believed that a grey day offered as many opportunities, such as the painting here, The Ford, which was painted in 1911. Munnings developed a habit of taking 2 canvases out, so that if it was a bright day, he would start painting the bright scene that was ahead of him. But if the clouds came over and it became dull, he would simply change to the next canvas, rather than trying to overwork what he had already done. There is no sky in this work, but the reflections that can be seen by the ponies as they trail through the water leave the viewer in no doubt that this is a grey day. The White Canoe, circa 1920. Munnings portrays his new wife Violet in this scene, sitting in the fore of the canoe. During the First World War, Munnings had been an official war artist. The equestrian portraits done from this time secured him a reputation for such work. Although newly married, he found himself away for long periods, painting commissioned works. He wrote to Violet, "We'll have evenings on the river when I get back. I'll do a good one of you in the canoe." This is one of a series of oil paintings of the same subject that he completed. Several were sold, but he retained this work, the one showing her hand resting on the canoe. It is significant that the most striking highlight in the painting is that of Violet's wedding ring. Munnings was known as a painter of outdoor scenes, racing, equestrian portraits and landscapes. The colours of blue, grey, green and browns are more associated with these genres, but Munnings painted with pink too, quite frequently. He once wrote, "Pink is an artist's colour," and so as part of the exhibition, I have a feature hang of paintings where he chose to include pink in the work, and I have 2 examples to show you. September afternoon. In 1939, as the Second World War approached, Munnings undertook a series of paintings on the River Stour that were amongst the most serene he had ever painted. Munnings wrote, "Sunlight streaming through a transparent pink Japanese sunshade, exquisite, a challenge to the eye." Light is of utmost importance. In each of the works, the effect and intensity of sunlight on and passing through the parasol is represented differently in each work, while reflected pink hues radiate the hair and dress of the model holding the sunshade. A study of one of Selfridge's young ladies in pink Selfridge's dress for Does the Subject Matter, circa 1953. This is a very freely painted oil study of a young lady called Patricia Potter. Munnings had asked if Selfridge's department store could send a model to his studio in a pink dress. He wanted to include this in a painting he was working on. There were other figures in the work, which was predominantly grey, and the injection of colour from this pink dress gave added focus to the overall composition. Tags Island, 1919. This was a work Munnings painted for his own pleasure and is an exemplar of his preoccupation with painting colour and the effects of light on motives. He wrote, "I am one of those artists who wants to paint pictures, the tone of a day, the light grey or sun on things, on horses, people. The composition of figures is arranged frieze-like across the picture plane, linked and harmonised by the application of repeated colours of greens and yellows, forming shadows and highlights respectively." Study for the Start at Newmarket, circa 1952. In his later years, Munnings spent much of his time at Newmarket races, especially the starts. He made copious pencil studies in small sketchbooks. Most of these were accompanied by colour notes about the jockey silks and the reflected lights on the horses, including how warm or cool the tones were to be. He recalled, "The sunlight raced along the heath, spread and caught the group under starters' orders, and once more I saw the classic sight of bright silks against a dark sky." These are just a few of my highlights from the exhibition Munnings Colour and Light. Each painting telling a story about colour or Munnings' lifelong preoccupation with capturing the effects of light on his subjects. If you would like to see more, please visit Art UK Curations to see more of the exhibition.